People who are buying a house to live in it, and even early investors, they're not paying attention to any of this stuff. It is absolutely detrimental if you ignore this. And this is what we would call your capital expenditures. So capital expenditures are all your big ticket items, your long lifespan, very expensive stuff. For example, your roof, HVAC system, your water heater, maybe your pool equipment, stuff that's generally has a longer lifespan. You don't have to replace it that much, but every so often there is a large lump sum that you will need to pay in order to fix or replace that item. If you have a pool in the backyard, that's going to have to be replastered at some point. You got a roof that has a long lifespan, but at some point that roof is going to need to be replaced. So if you're looking at buying a house, it's really important that you check what is the age of the current roof? What is the age of the current HVAC system? How long has it been since the pool was plastered or put in? How does that equipment look? There's a whole bunch of these big ticket items you need to take in consideration. You need to figure out what does it cost to replace that and basically spread that out over the lifetime. So for example, new HVAC system might cost, let's just say $10,000, and it's supposed to last about 15 years, roughly. So that amounts to $667 per year if you were to spread that cost out, which comes out to like $56 per month. So you got to say, okay, if I'm going to replace that in 15 years, I would need to save $56 per month, every single month. And then in 15 years, I have the cash saved up to completely replace that. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that, but if you're an investor, that's a very wise thing to do. But just keep in mind, maybe you do have an emergency fund, or maybe you do expect that at some point you need to dip into your equity, get a line of credit to pay for some of these big ticket expenses. But more importantly, if you're buying a house right now and you plan to leave in 10 years, well, hey, maybe look for something that's already had those items replaced. Because really, if you get a new roof that was put on 8 years ago, it's not going to show up in a valuation or an appraisal. It's really not going to be an extra cost that you have to pay when you're buying the house. And if you're only going to live in it for 10 years, well, it's only going to be 18 years old. So you're probably not going to have to replace that anytime within the time that you're living there or the time that you want to sell it. Whereas maybe you find another house, it's got 25 years on the roof lifespan at the same price, and you think, okay, well, I'm going to have to sink $15,000 into a roof at some point. I might as well go for the one where I don't have to do that if all else is equal. Just take your time. You're spending a lot of money on this stuff. Let's make sure you don't put yourself in a situation that's really going to hurt you in the future.